crafting emergency. Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and all that stuff. This is going to be a little bit different of a video. It is, as of right now, Wednesday, and tomorrow is Thursday. Thursday is my gaming day, and I don't have the terrain that I need to run my game. So I had a plan for the video for this week. That's not happening. What now takes precedence is getting this done, so I have the terrain that I need to get stuff out on my table to play my game. So here's the situation. My players are going to be facing an encounter that is just outside of the North City gates in the town of Rycat in the kingdom of Tomintoul. What I need is this big, cool, like, fields outside of the city mat. Frontline gaming mats, check them out, they're awesome. And then I also need my city gate. Now, I made this forever ago. This is a piece based basically off of the city gates that Jeremy from Blackmagic Craft made really early on in his channel. This was my first attempt making something this big forever ago. You can see that inside, it's not even finished painting. Shame on me, shame on me. Yeah, I know, that's ridiculous. I'm embarrassed about it, but it is what it is. And so this is gonna be the piece of it. But here's the problem. I made these little walls to go along with it, but I don't have enough to cross my entire mat. Now, I will say, it has been a long time coming that I've wanted to make more of these little wall sections. I know that I've needed to, but I haven't had the need to, if that makes sense. So what we're gonna be doing today is we're gonna be making more of these. They're really easy to make. Hopefully I can have them done in time for my game tomorrow. Without any further ado, let's start making some walls. All right, so to start, I sliced up a bunch of scrap XPS foam to a 1/2 inch thick. Now these eventually are gonna be cut into strips that are going to be 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch-ish thick. Again, that's very, I don't know why this is here. The actual outside dimensions of them being 1/2-ish by 1/2-ish inch thick really is all that you need to do. Actually, them being a little bit off makes them look a little bit more timbery, a little more natural, a little bit more hand-hewn. So the way that I got them to that size is I pulled out my Alpha knife and I began to slice them into strips. Now again, I'm choosing to use my Alpha knife here instead of my hot wire table, specifically because I want there to be variation in the strips. Now I will tell you, I did do the math to try and figure out how many of these I would need to make 6 sections of wall, 2 of them being shorter and 4 of them being longer. You will see later in the video why I'm not telling you that now. But with that said, here are the measurements for the 3 types of pieces that I made right here. You've got the longer wall section, you've got the smaller wall section, and then you've got the planks that will get dropped on top as part of the wall walk. Now, that's a pretty good transition to talk about what I did to make my walls. Now, the walls are just blocks of foam. I'm gonna be carving my brick texture into them. I know that that's not the right way to do it. Gluing bricks onto them is absolutely 100% the way to make them look really, really good. This is not my situation. I'm trying to crank these out as fast as possible so I have enough walls to get onto my table for tomorrow. So I'm just gonna go with the fastest method, which is just throwing a texture on the outside and then carving the brick texture in. You good boy? Are you good boy? You's good boy. Yes, you do. You's baby. Now for texturing up our stone walls, I actually got this as a tip from a commenter down below. I forget on what video, but they said to pull out a piece of cinder block or macadam and then use that to texture instead of a tinfoil ball. I've never tried it before, so here goes, and we'll see what this does for texture. I would assume that it would make everything more aggressive. Again, that's my guess, but I'm not sure. Certainly is more aggressive. I'll be interested to see what it looks like once this thing gets painted up. I might actually combine the two, and just to guarantee that there aren't any like flat spots where there's no texture, I'll hit the whole thing with the tinfoil ball just quick over the top to make sure that everything gets textured. I think I like it. Not gonna do that to all this side, this side, this side, and this side. Now, when we go to do our block texture, there are certainly better ways to do it that's gonna look more realistic, that's gonna look more interesting to the eye, but this is a rush job for me. So what I'm gonna do is just go through and cut out all my horizontal lines I'm gonna do that freehand so that they don't look too square. And then once I've done that, then I'm gonna grab a pencil and I'm going to widen them. Then I'm going to go in and cut out all of the individual blocks. Be sure to make the next row a little opposite. So where you've got a line here and here, you want this one to kind of come in between them. Then go back to the pencil, widen those. So now what I'm gonna do is get the rest of it done and then we'll take a look at it once it's finished. So the next thing I needed to do was start making my wall walks. So the way that I did that was by pulling out my little strips and texturing them up to look like wood. Now normally I would use a plastic wire brush here, but in this situation I'm trying to make them match my older set, and in my older set I used a brass wire brush. The issue with the metal wire brushes is that they tend to rip the foam more. It does give you deeper grooves, but at the expense of chancing ripping your foam. But honestly, on a piece like this that's a little bit thicker, you have less of a chance of just outright shredding your foam and ruining it. So I'm gonna take that brass wire brush and I'm going to wood texture all over the outside of these and then also on the ends. Now I ended up making a ton of those just because it would make it easier in later steps to knock out a whole bunch of them. We'll talk about that in a minute. So with all of that done, it was time for me to start assembling the wall walks. The way that I did that was just I pulled out my hot glue gun and I began gluing the pieces down. This is actually really, really easy. You want to just leave a lip on one end and then make them basically flush on the back side, and this will make a cool little town wall look. And it's really fast because you're gluing these big strips, you know, 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. You get that done really quick, so it's nice to watch them fly together really fast. As soon as that's done, it should look something like this, and then it is time to move on to the little spike decorations that are along the top of the wall walks. Now for ornamentation, I'm gonna pull out my little cutoffs, and then I'm gonna also pull out toothpicks. What I'm gonna do is shave this down to size, and as you can see on this one, whoop, man, dropping everything today. I'm going to poke this up through the little block, glue a bunch of those together, and then that's what's gonna make the wall section up top. So after I got them all assembled, it was time for me to glue them in place. Again, just like laying down the big strips for the wall walk, you just drop these in, boom, 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 boom. A good idea is to actually put a little bit of glue in between the two little blocks as you glue them together, not just on the bottom, but also on the one side. So you're gluing all of the blocks together as well as down. That just adds a little bit of extra strength. But with that done, it looked like this, and then it was time to move on to the final little bit of ornamentation that I added to these. Now, one thing that I'll say is I'm making these to match my older wall sections. If I were to make a newer version of these, I would make them a lot more intricate, have a lot more things going on, but that's not the point. Remember what you're crafting for and don't get bogged down with details of, does this look the way that it should for my crafting quality now? If you're trying to make it match an old set or something that you made a long time ago, let it match that set. It'll be an easy way to get something onto your table and it'll look like what you had before. I mean, I do it all the time. I should be doing better than I was doing 3 years ago. These should look better. That's not the point. The point is to get these out on the table, so I'm gonna make them look exactly like I did when I made these 3 years ago. The one little bit of ornamentation that I put on these is these little triangles of foam that I glued into the wall walks as supports maybe. I don't actually know why I did it, but I want these to match. So I glued all of those in place, and that's it for the sculpts. It was a really easy sculpt to throw together really quickly, and now it's time to Blackmagic Craft base coat as well as get these things painted up. So that's what we're on to next. Okay, pause the video. How on earth did I end up with this many extra of these pieces? I mean, look at all this. I have so many. I know I'm bad at math, but I'm not that bad at math. Maybe I am. If you ever wonder in a video why I don't give you a breakdown of how many pieces you need in order to craft something, just let this be the lesson. Like, this is why. Gosh, how do you end up with this much extra? All right, let's go back to the video. Let's go. So to start getting these painted up, we're gonna do what we typically do, which is just pull out our charcoal gray. We're gonna throw that all over the stone. Now for my next gray up, I'm just gonna take this pewter gray, pop a little bit out onto my napkin here. This is damp, by the way, so it kind of works like a wet palette. I'm gonna get it on my brush like that, and then I'm just gonna drag this kind of horizontally across the front of my blocks. That will grab the high spots, leaving the low spots in that charcoal gray color. If you really want to be like careful and safe, you can go one block at a time so that each block looks unique. If you want to go a little faster, you can just go over the whole thing. Looks a little bit less good, but takes a lot less time. I'm going to keep this up, and then when that's done, we'll move on to the next color. The final step is going to be a dry brushing of elephant gray over the whole bit of stonework. Remember, the key with dry brushing is to get almost all of the paint off of your brush, and then just catch all those high places. This is what really brings out all of the cool textures in your stonework, and that compared to this. Let's keep going. Now for the wood on here, you can see I wasn't exactly a master painter. Basically all I did was paint a dark brown, this burnt umber, over the whole thing. And then it looks like I dry brushed in two different browns, kind of a orangey brown and a tan. And that's it. I want my new set to match my old set, so unfortunately that is what I'm reduced to. So let's jump into it. So to get started with this burnt umber, I'm just gonna take and water it down a whole bunch and then start blasting it on here. Because it's watered down, it should spread over nice and easy, and we're gonna get a lot of cool color versatility because bits of the black are going to show through underneath. Once we get this done, then we'll move on to the next step. All right, now to finish these up, I'm gonna be doing a dry brushing of just a regular brown and then a khaki. Now, I cannot state this enough. I'm not doing this because I think these are the right two colors. I'm doing this specifically because this matches my old set, and that is what matters to me in this situation. Definitely too big of a gap. It's gonna end up with like a pretty chalky look and definitely not super, super natural. So I'm gonna knock that out, and then I get to the fun part, which is setting up this super scene. All right, and there you have it. I got these finished in just the right amount of time. It took me all of my crafting time yesterday and then a little bit of crafting time today, but I got it done in plenty of time. My player shouldn't be here for another hour and a half or two, but the best part of this whole process is that I get to go from the crafting table, and in just a few hours, I get to see all of their reactions to it, which is my favorite part. Are these little wall sections the best thing that I've ever made? No, they weren't supposed to be. I think the way to make yourself happy with the things that you've made is to set your expectations correctly. I didn't make these with the intention of making them to my current standard. I made them to match an old piece that I had, and that old piece was made at a time where my standard back then was worse. But that's okay, they match, and that's what's important. And so now I got a bunch of cool new pieces of terrain. I can do a much longer section of wall now, and it didn't take a whole bunch of headache or, I don't know why I'm awkwardly holding that. It didn't give me a huge amount of headache to get it done. And then here's where we are. So, I'm beyond stoked. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, definitely leave me a like down below, comment, all of that fun YouTube stuff. The fastest way that you can help a small YouTube channel grow is by sharing this video with a friend that you think would enjoy it. Definitely subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you have, thank you for coming back for yet another week. I love making this content for you, and hopefully you're enjoying it as much as I enjoy making it. But with that said, that's it. That's all I got. So I get to go play D&D now. Really excited. And until next week, I'll be seeing you.
And I ordered a one of these that is also arriving this afternoon, of course. So I'm going to be wearing the old Min one for in place. Ooh! Yeah, baby!
dope.
Nice.
That's huge. It looks like
It is
humongous.
huge.